Yeah, in this video we'll be talking about CSS pseudo elements. Okay, so to start with, let me create before I create a HTML structure. Let me explain something in CSS Studio, a simple structure how it normally looks. After that, I will comment it out. Okay, first of all, you have your selector. Have your selector, then you have your double colon. Your double colon, then you have your pseudo element. You have your pseudo e before you. You have your pseudo elements, okay. Pseudo elements. Then you now open your what's it called, your declaration block. Then inside that, that's where you have your properties and properties, or not properties, property, not you're not doing properties, you just your property, then column before your value, value. Okay, so this is what you need. Let me reduce this so it will, yes, this is what I want. So this is the structure of pseudo. This is the how we use this is where we use pseudo. The difference between pseudo elements and pseudo class is that pseudo elements have double quotes, not double quote, double colon, while pseudo class have only one colon. Okay, having said that, let me proceed. Let me comment it out, then I will now create a CSS, my HTML structure. Okay, what's this thing here? Okay, so inside there I will create my HTML structure, so we can illustrate this pseudo element, CSS pseudo element. Inside this place now we'll be using let me use only letters. Let me use because this pseudo element is mostly effective in, let me use text because it will mostly effective in elements. Okay, let me just say something like let me use hash1. Let me use hash1. Inside hash1 I will say hello world, uh hello world, uh okay, hello world is the hello world. Okay, let me use something like hello everyone. Yeah, let me use that, like everyone. Instead of that, hello world, hello everyone, let's say welcome, let's say welcome to my website. Let me use that word, website. Just use something like this. Okay, let me refresh and make sure it's connected. Yeah, so let me use something like this. Okay, so let me link our CSS external file. So if you don't know how to link your CSS external file, go and watch my video on CSS inserts. You will understand how to do that. So inserting our CSS file. Okay, let me insert that link slash. Okay, it is now connected. Okay, now for us to implement this pseudo this pseudo elements, let's start with the, we have our selector. This is our selector, and then we put two colon, then pseudo elements with property and value. So let's start with, we'll be using element selector, which is this header one, which contain this our text here. So we say hash1, then we put double columns. Okay, these double columns there will now call let's use the first let me just use after first, because these are the properties. Some of them are the properties, depends on where you want to use them. Property of not properties but pseudo elements that you can use. Let me use after. In this after now, then let me open my declaration block. Inside the declaration block I will use something called content. Let me say not this one, let me say content. Okay, inside this content now I want to put something like a symbol that will kind of list, kind of a letter or number here before the text, before this our text. What I will now do, I will just use this what is it called, this double quotes. So you see it as a string. Let me say one. Let's see what happens to, no, not here. Oh, I say after, supposed to be before. I want to use before. want to use before pseudo elements, before the one will appear before this. You can see it, the one appeared before this element. Okay, so I can put anything inside this place. I can say hash, it will appear there before the test. I can also add let me add something like um let me use something like equals to and then greater than, so looks like a pointer. Let me use something like this. You can see something like this. Then I can give it a color. Any color you're adding here is going for this content that you add here, not for the whole text, but for the color. Okay, so let's say something like, let me add color here. Let me say color inside this color. Let me give it a blue color and see what it looks like. You can see the color. Okay, let me also give it a font size. Let me give it a font size of, let me say font size. Let me give it something like let me see larger, what larger will look like. It doesn't make sense to me. Let me just use the one that time. Let me say 2em and see what it looks like. You can see it's very big, but it's pushing the text downwards, just for illustration purpose anyway. Let me just do 1.5 em. Okay, you can see the effect on the content. Then let me give it a background color of, let me say which color will match this thing now. Let me use that same golden lodge. You can see the background color. So this is how to add before pseudo element to your main element. Okay, then since we have done after, let's just do after at once. Let's say after. If you put after here now, this thing will go to the back. You can see it. Let me change the direction of this arrow. Let it face this side, inside this place. Let me do that inside this content. Let me change the direction. Let me point it to this side, so it will point to that side. You can see in this the after. So anything you're adding in the content will be after your whole sentence that you have written, to come after it. Then it will appear before your content. Okay, now the next thing I want to do, I want to use another. There are a lot of pseudo elements, but I want to use this I want to use another pseudo element called first letter. So it will target only the first letter. Let me use it. Let me say first letter. First letter. This is the first letter. So this pseudo element now, it will target this first letter, which is H. It will target it. Okay. So let me say something like color now. Say color. Color. Let me use this aqua, which is let me use hexadecimal color design. Let me say 00FFF. Okay, let's see what's happened. You see the color, it targets the first letter. You can see it. As you can see, it just target the first letter. So I can also oh, what's happening to my listen? Let me just use any color. Let me use red. I think red will be very visible. Let me say red. Okay, you can see the lead now. Then let me give it a font size. Let me say font size. Let me give it 3em. You can see the size. So it's targeting only the first letter. Okay, so that is how to, you can even add it back. I can even add it background color if I want. I can just say background color here. Let me add background color. Let me say background color. Let me give you something like gray color. Say gray. Number this gray. Okay, you can see I have added it gray. Okay, you can see. So this is for pseudo element. The pseudo element is uh, um, first letter. That's the name of the pseudo element. So the next one I want to do is the first line. Okay, to do that one, what I will now do now, I will add more line. I will increase this text, the text of this the line. I will increase the text in my header one, so there will be many tests, so it will not be only one line. So in that case, I'll use rolling. This rolling is used for generating random words. Let me say rolling generate let me say 100 words for me. Okay, you can see that it have generated 100 words. Okay, now let me clear this thing out. Let me clear it out. Okay, let me say first line. Instead of first letter, use first line. First line. In this first line now, it will target the first line. Okay, the way it's targeted the hello world. Let's do that. So let's give it a color. Let's give it a color. This inside this color now, let me give it that same blue. Blue is okay, but let me use lead. Lead is always more visible. Let me use lead. You can see the effect. It targets the first line. And one funny thing about this is that it's very responsive. If I widen this page now, just note that it started from hello and ended to my. You see that? Let me widen the page and you see what will happen. You can see it extends whatever the first line of the this thing is, of your text is. It's all of them will inherit that that pseudo element property and value. Okay, so the reason why it extend beyond my is because the screen extends, so it's responsive, it follows it up. Okay, having said that, let me can add font size to it. Can say font size. Can say font size. Let me say 2em. You can see that it's targeting only hello because of the screen size. Okay, let me widen the screen to go be okay. Still the same thing. You can also give it a background color. Let me say background color. Background color of, let me say something like a green. Say green. You can see the effect. How about widening it? You can see the effect. Okay, that is for uh pseudo element named first line. So the next one I want to illustrate now is the one called select. Let me say select. Selection, not select, selection. Okay, this selection now, let me clear this place. Okay, let me clear this one. So let me this thing. Okay, yeah, it's complete now. Let me open this declaration block where. So this one now, what this one does is that, like for instance now, you see this screen now. If I highlight this place now, you see the color it's high. Okay, let me just do select. Let me select. If I click on this text now to select this text, you see the color now. By default, this is a browser default way of doing it. If you don't give this thing, if you're creating a website and you not give this thing your own style or all these things, the browser have its own default styling and all those things. So unless you want to change your own, so we're going to do that. We want to change this color now. When you select it, it will give you a different color. Okay, so let's do that. So I will be giving it let me say color. What is happening to this? Why is this still highlighted? Okay, let me say give it a color. Let me say color. Inside this color now, we're giving it let me say red. This red isn't really necessary. Okay, let's select something and see what happens. You can see the color is now, oh, it's brown. I want to use red so it will be very visible. Let me say red. Okay, let me select. You see it's red now. You can select anything that you select here now. Anything that you select will be highlighted to red. Let me also give it a background color. Let me put a semicolon here. Okay, let me say a background color. Let me give it a background color of which color will match with red and bring out this thing of red. Green and red does not go together. Think. Okay, let me use Azure. Azure do this thing for me. Now let me try Azure. It will look a bit whiter. It's not even visible. Let me use a color. Still use that green just for illustration purpose. You can make your choice as you are doing. So you can see once I highlight anything now, it will give me this color and then this green background. For instance, now this one, you can see this one, you can see this one. If I let me say control let me say I want to copy it. Let me do something like, you can see control A. If I highlight everything in my website, it uses this color. Okay, but if you most people when they're creating their website, they not add all these things, they just leave it for browser default. But if you want your own to be special, your website to be special, you can just add all these things. Let's say this one now, Jimmy, you don't want this green, just change it to, let me say I want to change it to something like which color we are using now, say something like let me use that golden. that gold or gold, the name is gold. You can see this one now. When somebody highlight your this in your site and or your website, this pseudo elements will be called, this selection pseudo elements will be implemented instead of the browser default one. Okay, so I think we'll call this where we call it a day. Okay, I hope I nailed it a little bit. Okay, so if you have any question, you can drop it in the comment section. Okay, thank you for watching. See you in the next video.